number 2. So today we're going to be looking at adding rational numbers. Okay, so this is a continuation from lesson 1. Change things up a little bit, but there's going to be one thing that you notice that we're going to be repeating, especially to start the year, and this trend is going to continue throughout the year, and that's switching between improper fractions to mixed fractions and mixed fractions to improper fractions. So if you're not sure how to do that, or you don't remember because you've had the summer off, feel free to come see me in class today, and I'll definitely be willing to help you out. Alright, so first we're going to start with adding fractions. Okay, so in order to add fractions, we must have a common denominator. Okay, so that's the bottom number, right? D for downstairs. And these two numbers need to be the same anytime we're adding or subtracting fractions. When it's multiplying, dividing, we don't have to worry as much. Okay, so remember what we do to the denominator, what we must also do to the numerator, okay? So if you do it to the bottom, you do it to the top. If you do it to the top, you do it to the bottom when we're trying to just keep the fraction the same, okay? Once our denominator is the same, we add the numerators and keep the denominator the same. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys a couple of quick examples, just to see if we can start to understand things. Again, if we're not getting it, don't worry, we can get some help in class. That's why we're doing this flipped classroom, right? Okay, so example 1, we're looking to add 2/3 and 1/4. Okay, so these denominators are not the same, so now we must make them the same. Okay, so we have 3 and 4. What's a common denominator that we can share between 3 and 4? Well, 3 times 4, always the easiest route to go. So 3 times 4 is 12. So both of these could be 12, and so what we'll do is we'll just kind of do the opposite to each other, find it out. So if we start with 2/3 times 4 over 4, right? We're multiplying 1 and 1, so we're not really changing anything. We're just changing the size of the fraction, but not the ratio. Okay? So here we end up with 2 times 4 is 8. On the bottom, 3 times 4 is 12. If you think of it, 8 is 2/3 of 8 over 12 is the same. Okay? Now we can do it to our next fraction, right? So we end up with 1 over 4 times 3 over 3, right? Because we want to get this number to 12. And we do it to the bottom, do it to the top. So 1 times 3 is 3. And this is the same ratio again. 3/12 is the same as 1/4. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put these back together. And adding is as simple as 1 plus 2 here almost. Okay, so 8 plus 3 is 11. And we don't change our denominator when it's the same and we're adding or subtracting. Okay, so then we end up with 11/12, and this is our final answer. Okay, all right, let's do another example, guys. Now we have a negative and a mixed number, so things get a little more complicated, but it's definitely within your skill set to be able to do this, especially with an example to go off of. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our mixed fraction here and change it into an improper fraction. Okay, so again, we take the denominator, multiply it by the whole, so 4 times 6 is 24. We'll just do that underneath. Okay, and then we add it to the numerator, so 24 plus 1 equals 25. And our denominator stays the same, so over 6, right? And 25. So 25/6 is the same as 4 and 1/6. Okay, now we want to add or subtract. So here we're going to start with negative 1/3 plus 25/6. And I'm just going to hopefully erase that line. 25/6. But what do we have to do first? The denominator must be the same. So here we're going to make our denominator 3 to 6, so times 2. So negative 1 over 3 times 2 over 2. So we end up with negative 2 over 6. Okay, so now we can just kind of go through this process and start to get going, okay? So we start with negative 2 over 6 plus 25 over 6. Denominators are the same, so there's no problem here. Okay, plus 6. So we start with minus 2, and then we add 25, end up with positive 23 as our answer. Okay, so I hope this is making sense. Again, if it's not, once you're done the video, write down some notes. Here's what I didn't understand. Put a big star beside this. Take your highlighter. Just color it in like a coloring book if you feel that will help you remember what you need help with. And then please come ask me in class, okay? So we're gonna take a quick pause here and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back, guys. So now what we're gonna be doing is adding decimals, okay? And so for me, I find this a little bit easier than the fractions. Maybe for you it's not, and that's all right. So my job this semester is to make you better at everything you do in math. So if this is something you struggle with, this is what we're gonna practice, right? Just like that basketball game, you know, we need to make sure we practice before the game so we can perform for the competition. All right, so here we have 2.1, and we're adding negative 1/4. So this is basically the same thing as saying 2.1 minus 1.4, right? Because if we're adding a negative, it's the same as subtracting a positive. And so here, the main thing to remember when we're adding or subtracting decimals is we line those decimals up, right? So here what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to 2.1 minus 1.4, okay? And so everything lines up where the decimals go, and now it's as simple as our adding, and we just keep the decimal in the same spot, right? So we can even start drawing it first, and then we can do the rest. So here we're gonna borrow, right? So 11 minus 4 is 7, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So our final answer, 0.7. All right, next one. Not too much harder, but maybe for you, this isn't where your skill set lies, and that's okay. Same rules apply. Line up your decimals, okay? So here we're going to start with 4.5, and we're going to add 1.2. Okay, for now we're going to forget about the negatives, but all of this is negative, so our final answer will be a negative number when we go along. But I just find it easier, instead of having minus 4.5, minus 1.2, and we're adding, and it gets messy. Again, you are allowed to use your calculator for this course. However, I do expect you still to show your work. So I still need to see you put all of this in some sort of format that I know you understand it. And then if you need to double check your answer with a calculator, that's always a good suggestion, okay? So here we go, we're adding, right? So decimal stays in the same spot. 5 plus 2 is 7. 4 plus 1 is 5. And so our final answer is going to be negative 5.7. We just borrowed these negatives from before, so that's why our final answer is negative. Okay, so let's keep going, guys. All right, so now we're going to be solving a problem, so a word problem, by adding rational numbers, okay? So here what we do is, in August, Mary earned $115.89 delivering flyers on weekends and $72.50 babysitting. So in the end, she spent $23.45 on a sweater and $89.76 on shoes. It's a lot of numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to break it down by what do these different numbers mean, right? So first we're going to write an addition statement that represents how much money Mary had at the end of August, okay? So she earned $115. So that's going to be a positive number, okay? And we're doing an addition statement, so everything should be adding between, okay? And she earned $72.50 babysitting, okay? Not bad for a babysitting job in August, I think. Most of the parents sent their kids home for the summer, and apparently they still wanted some babysitting and parent time, so I get it now as a parent. Okay, but she spent $23.45, so this is going to be, we're adding a negative, right? Because it's all addition, but it's a negative number because we've spent money. We're getting rid of it, right? So 23.45. And then again, she went and bought a nice new, maybe Lululemon sweater for that price, is my guess. But she also spent some more money, so we're going to add another negative of 89.76. Okay, now what I would do is take this exact same thing, get rid of your additions where you can, when we're dealing with negatives. So here we'll just make this a negative and minus 89.76. Okay, so then we're going to go order operations left to right, and we'll just go through our problem and solve it as we do, right? So here we can go 115.89 plus 72.50, that answer minus 23.45, that answer minus 89.76. Okay. Also, once you have this statement, you show me you understand what you're doing, and you can just throw all of that into the calculator, get your answers, and we're good to go. Okay. So in the end, Mary had $75.18. Okay, and she can put that money in the bank and hopefully save it for the school year, maybe a few Slurpee runs, but not too many that we go diabetic. Okay, all right, guys, so that is almost the end of our lesson today. We got one more problem here, example 6, okay, and then you guys are on your own with my help. All right, so the next problem here is the temperature on January 3rd was negative 22.3 degrees. We're going to go degrees Celsius because we're in Canada, okay? And so by noon the next day, the temperature had increased by 10.6 degrees Celsius. So what was the temperature at noon? Okay, so how do we think of this? Well, we started at negative 22.3 and we increased. Usually when we're increasing, it's going to be an addition, a positive number, right? So we're going to add 10.6. What's the temperature? Well, all you have to do is put these numbers together. How do we add or subtract decimals? We line the decimals up, okay? So here we're going to start at minus 20, well, what we'll do is 22.3 minus 10, well, we're going to go back, guys. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to flip things around a little bit, okay? So we're starting at negative, but we're adding, okay? So what we're going to do is kind of flip this around and we're going to switch the signs, okay? So we're going to start with 22.3, okay? And we're going to subtract 10.6. You can always flip your signs if you're just dealing with a couple rational numbers. So here we go, well, 3 minus 6, gonna have to borrow something. So here we go 1, 13, okay, and we end up with, again, keep your decimals in a line, 7, and then 0 minus 1 is 1, 2 minus 1 is 1, and so our answer, again, this started more negative, so we have to add that back in, but negative 11 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's how we're going to end this problem. Again, honestly, I find sometimes drawing a picture, okay, if this is our thermostat, right? Here we have 0 degrees Celsius, okay? We start down here, we're at minus 22.3, and we go up 10 degrees Celsius, okay? It's still going to be a negative number, so that's something too that you can always do as a little trick. I find drawing pictures for a lot of these integer problems really helpful, so that might be the same for you. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.